Hi, my name is Miss Goh Siwei. I'm a lecturer from International Medical University, IMU Chinese Medicines program. Now, let us introduce our speaker today, Dr. Wong Hun Fong. Dr. Wong is the program director as well as the lecturer from IMU Chinese Medicines program. Now, Dr. Wong, could you tell us a little bit more about Chinese Medicines program at IMU?
Sure, thank you, Siwei. Our Chinese medicine program is under the School of Complementary and Alternative Medicine, and the full name of the degree is called Bachelor of Science Honors in Chinese Medicine. You would see this name appear in your scroll when you completed your studies. Now, every year we would have two intakes. So there is the February intake, and there is also the September intake. Depending on which track you would like to study, you could opt for local track, for which you would complete all your studies locally and you will be conferred the IMU degree. Alternatively, you could also opt for credit transfer, in which you would study at IMU for the first 2 to 3 years. After that, you would then transfer to our partner schools and complete the remaining years there. The difference is that for this time, if you opt for credit transfer, your degree will be conferred by the partner schools. Doesn't matter it is a local track or credit transfer, all our programs are in full-time mode.
I see. Thank you, Dr. Wong. Speaking of credit transfer and as well as the partner school, could you let us know what choices do we have for credit transfer?
Sure. We have currently available 3 partners in China, and they are Shanghai University of Chinese Medicine, Guangzhou University of Chinese Medicine, as well as Shandong University of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Each partner schools actually come with their slightly different strength and expertise. For example, like Shanghai University, it is very famous for integrating Chinese medicine and the Western medicine together. It is also actually a pioneer in developing an international ISO standards for Chinese medicine. And the latest, for those of you in the field of healthcare, if you have heard of ICD-11 before, that is actually when we see Chinese medicine officially been incorporated into the WHO naming terminology there. Shanghai University of TCM is also one of the WHO collaboration centers for Chinese medicine. For Shandong University of TCM, it is located in the birthplace of Confucius. It is famous especially for Chinese medical classical studies, so things like the classical literatures, and it's also famous for pediatric trainer. For Guangzhou University of TCM, it is well known for its tropical diseases studies. So if you are interested in dengue and things like this is where you should probably consider going. On top of China partner schools, we are also currently exploring new partnerships in Australia. Yeah.
Thank you for the interesting fact regarding our partner school, Dr. Wong. Could you tell us briefly how is the program structured?
Sure. Our program is designed according to the 3 phases shown on the screen. The first phase is what we call discovery of human body. It will last from year 1 to year 2, from semester 1 to semester 3 specifically. During this time, students would learn about the normal physiological and functional condition from both Western medicine and Chinese medicine perspectives. As none of us have learned Chinese medicine before during our primary and secondary schools, that's why we have to teach all the content from the basics. So the fundamentals will be taught in this phase. And it is this phase that it requires you to learn, understand, and perhaps even requiring a bit of memorization. And that is why, if we look at the educationist perspective, most of the time, in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, it will be under just remembering, understanding, and you're at the receiving end. In terms of clinical skills, you would also mainly just know how to do it, and that's at most. Moving on to phase 2, this is from semester 4 to 7. So it's actually also from year 2, but this time it stretches up until year 4. This phase is named as Ideas of Sickness and Health. this is the time that you would learn about abnormal or pathological condition, again, from both Western medicine and Chinese medicine perspectives. You would need to apply the knowledge that you've learned in phase 1 in regards to the physiological condition so that you can analyze what has gone wrong and then apply it to treat that condition. So compare that with phase 1, phase 2 has more application type of learning activities. You'd also have to go through simulated environment in which we have simulated patients to let you complete your history taking and things like this before you move on to the real life environment. In terms of questions, you would also have more application type questions in this phase. For phase 3, this is what we term as the compassionate and scientific Chinese medicine physician. These phase range from semester 8 to semester 10. So that is from year 4 to year 5, the final year. In this phase, since it is mainly about clinical subjects and also applying the knowledge in real life practice, you would have to really apply your knowledge and even try to evaluate the real patient and create or come up with some kind of suitable treatment plan, be it herbal formula or acupuncture for the patient under close supervision. That's why if we look at the educational perspective, it can be quite high, like creating, organizing, and in terms of the demonstration, you would have to actually really do it. So this is how our program is being structured.
Thank you for the clear explanations, Dr. Wong. I think one of the common questions from the floor, especially the parents, is that what is the career pathway that is available for studying Chinese medicines? Would you want to explain a little bit more for that?
Okay, based on the understanding, upon completing our undergraduate studies, student can choose to obtain registration directly with the so-called Traditional and Complementary Medicine Council before they can start to practice in Malaysia. After obtaining the registration, you can then actually practice as a general practitioner in private clinics or private hospitals, or even nowadays, we have the so-called Traditional and Complementary Medicine unit in our public hospitals. As far as we know, right now, in each state, there is at least one government hospital that has this Traditional and Complementary Medicine unit in it. And Chinese medicine is the one that is currently available across all the Traditional and Complementary unit in government hospitals. So this is the first one that you can opt for, practicing directly after completing studies. You can also choose to further pursue something more advanced, so going for advanced training or what we know as going for clinical specialties. So in terms of clinical specialties, you can perhaps consider acupuncture, moxibustion, Tui Na, the medical massage, or bone manipulations, pediatric, gynecology, or various kind of internal medicine specialists. So for example, like rheumatology, respiratory, renal, and so on and so forth. If you're interested in doing some kind of specialties in relation to aesthetic improvement, then you perhaps want to consider external medicine. So external medicine includes things like dermatology, skin beauty. So that's what we call aesthetics, yeah? So these are the kind of specialties you can consider pursuing. Of course, if you want to go further and obtain a master or even a PhD, you can do so too. And that will also be under the specialties. So you can choose from a similar one and then obtain a master's after 3 years of studies, or obtain a PhD after 6 years of studies on top of the undergraduate studies. With a master's, you would then be able to become a lecturer, lecturing or teaching into the Chinese medicine undergraduate program. For those brave and daring one, you can also choose to become entrepreneur, setting up your own business and venturing into various conditions. For those with a curious mind, you can also become a researcher. So the sky is the limit, I would say, in terms of career pathway. That is generally what we observe for our graduates.
Oh, that is very interesting. May I also hear from you about the reason why to study Chinese medicines at IMU?
Sure. We have tried to list down a few of these reasons based on an analysis of our curriculum. So we can see here, the first one is that our curriculum is internationally benchmarked. So even though we teach in English, but we have actually benchmarked it internationally against the Australia Chinese Medicine Board, as well as China curriculum. And that's the reason we can have credit transfer pathway to our partner schools. Secondly, we also have a very strong collaborations and connections with our partner schools. So aside from the articulation, so that's the transfer pathway that we have, our partner schools is also very much famous for their own specialties as well. One of the notable one is that they are WHO Chinese medicine research centers worldwide. So that gives us the assurance that we are actually at the cutting edge. Whatever that we do, it's at the forefront, and whatever that we have come up with in terms of research, it will be available directly and applied in the undergraduate studies. Secondly, after comparing our program with other programs available in Malaysia, we have realized that we are very much strong in clinical training as well as integration of Western medicine, including the basic science as well as the clinical science in our curriculum. As we all know, if we learn knowledge, but we don't apply it, so knowledge without action is actually meaningless. And that is why we emphasize at IMU that knowledge must be applied in clinical settings. To meet this very high standard, we have designed our curriculum to expose students to clinical training from as early as year 2. When students completed learning the herbs, they must learn how to dispense the herbs properly. Progressively, when they completed the acupuncture learning in year 3, they must learn how to perform acupuncture needling on real patients. By the time they enter into final year, they should be more or less work ready, and we would entrust our students to treat real patients under close supervision. IMU is the only university in Malaysia that has student clinic fully operated by students. And that shows how strong our clinical training is in our curriculum. Aside from that, all our basic sciences and clinical sciences subjects are delivered by the subject matter experts from the relevant field. And we have successfully integrated them into our clinical subjects. And the integration actually helps students understand the human body better and allows them to explain clearly to the patient when it comes to the clinical training. So students have this opportunity to learn with the experts. And on top of that, they also have the opportunity to network with other students from other programs. And believe me, networking is very important when we work in healthcare, because we work as a team rather than working as a standalone practitioner. So that's the second point. The third point is we emphasize a lot on student-centered and lifelong learning, simply because in healthcare, things keep moving very fast. So rather than just spoon-feeding students with knowledge, we teach them the technique on how to study. Once they master that, they can continuously learn all the improvement even after graduation. So that helps students prepare them to become not only work ready, but also as a lifelong learner, able to continue to absorb new things after completing the studies. We make use of various technology during our learning. And so with that, students would also be able to learn better and better prepared for their future careers. Of course, on top of that, nowadays, we also know technology is part and parcel of our life. With all this technology embedded in our curriculum, it will actually be able to prepare students better for their future career too. Last but not least, IMU emphasize on the development of critical thinking. Through critical thinking, students will be able to solve real-life problems. And that is why in our curriculum, we have problem-based learning as well as case-based learning embedded in it. Through the discussions of various case scenarios as well as real cases, we'll be able to stimulate students to develop critical thinking. And with this critical thinking, students become more capable to stay up to date with all the knowledge and apply them in the real situations. So basically, they're much more well prepared for their clinical years. These are the kind of values that we think will be added to students if they study Chinese medicine at IMU.
Thank you for the sharing, Dr. Wong. As one of the alumni of IMU Chinese Medicines program, these are also the reason why I study Chinese medicines in IMU. Now, could you share us more about the future career prospect for Chinese medicines?
Okay. I think when we talk about future career prospect, we have shared just now. So there are a few pathways that you can choose to go along. I think more importantly right now is that perhaps some may concern that, hey, this field of work, is it like able to earn a living? I can rest assured that this is a booming sector in Malaysia. Although there may seem to be a lot of private practices already in Malaysia, but those private practices are very much just established in Klang Valley, so in Kuala Lumpur and in Selangor, but not for other states. So there are plenty of opportunities too. And on top of that, the government right now is aspired to integrate Chinese medicine into the public healthcare system. So like I said just now, there is at least one public hospitals with Chinese medicine services offered. The plan is actually to expand all these services to primary care. So in other words, all the clinic kesehatan will also have Chinese medicine services in the future. So if we take into account the development plan in both the public sector as well as the private practice, I think there are plenty of opportunities for students to practice in Malaysia.
Great. May I know, is the degree recognized by Malaysia government as well as overseas?
Our degree, yes, it is recognized by the Malaysia government. It is fully accredited by MQA, and therefore, upon completing your studies, you can choose to directly apply for registration. Make sure you apply for full registration with the council, and then once you receive the so-called annual practice certificate, you can then start to practice. For overseas, different countries have different regulations when it comes to practicing Chinese medicine. Some countries have started to regulate Chinese medicine, so there may be other requirements that you need to fulfill, for example, like work experience or language requirement, or you would probably have to just go through some kind of licensing exam, something similar like Singapore. But what we can say is IMU degree is an academic certificate that can bring you one step closer to registration. So in other words, the degree is just part of the requirements. There may be some other requirements that you need to fulfill should you choose to work in overseas.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Could you also share us a little bit more? Who are the teachers in the Chinese medicines program at IMU?
Right. Most of our lecturers are actually local Malaysians. They have at least a minimum of master's degrees in their relevant field. So like our facilitator here, Ms. Goh, she's actually a gynecologist. So naturally, being a gynecologist, she will be able to teach our students in the gynecology subjects. We do also have other lecturers specializes in different fields, for example, like acupuncture, for example, like internal medicine, and so on and so forth. So they are thus qualified to teach undergraduate students in their respective expertise. On top of that, we also have experienced professors from China. So currently, we have Prof. Zhou. And so Prof. Zhou is from Shanghai. He is an acupuncturist. He will be able to supervise you guys when you are having your acupuncture sessions in the clinic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong, for the very clear and detailed explanations regarding the Chinese medicines program at IMU. Thank you.